Welcome back to our live town hall discussion talking about how we reopen Kansas. The pandemic has taken its toll on the economy, and in turn, many local businesses are struggling as well.
That's right. And as we bring back Washburn economist David Sollers and Kansas Chamber President Alan Cobb, and I want to make sure both of you get to weigh in on this first question we have here. So here it is. As local businesses open their doors again, they need to start making money, but also need to keep their employees safe and customers safe, of course. So what will plans look like for employers who are trying to keep their people healthy, both physically and mentally, all while getting operations back up and running? So David, let's start with you on this one.
Well, I think it's really been remarkable, as we've been able to visit some essential stores that have been open in the last few weeks, how different stores or different establishments have reacted differently. Some, had masks, some had plexiglass. Some have staggered hours. It's just been incredible to me to watch the diversity of reaction. Different people are comfortable with different things, and it's been I think that will continue to some degree if there aren't strict regulations that come down from the government about what should happen here, there, and everywhere. So it's been fun to watch the different the innovation that has occurred given this situation.
All right, thank you, David. And Alan, I understand that you're not able to hear David very well, so I do just want to ask you the same question, though. How can these businesses reopen knowing that their employees are going to be safe as well as their customers as well?
Sure. Well, of course, as I mentioned earlier, it's in their interest to keep them safe. And there's a lot of industry guidelines out there of best practices of altering shifts, making sure employees are healthy when they come in, that they feel comfortable staying home if they don't feel well. Deep cleaning, safe spacing. Some of these things are not terribly complicated. They just have to be done by the businesses. I think you've already seen it here in Topeka and Shawnee County, where the restaurants that are open are safe spacing. Their employees are wearing masks. You see this at the grocery stores and the hardware stores that have been open from the very beginning. So there's a self-interest for those businesses to make sure everybody feels safe. And ultimately, how the economy gets back is consumer confidence. Do consumers feel safe going out? Well, they're not going to feel safe if they don't feel the businesses are not protecting their employees and customers. So a lot of this is certainly self-regulates, but a lot of there's pages and pages of industry standards from industry associations, including the Kansas Chamber or the Center for Disease Controls, about how businesses can do this. It is a lot of hand sanitizer, it's a lot of Clorox wipes, and it's a lot of deep cleaning. And these are things that are not terribly unusual, but probably the frequency is going to be more unusual than it has been in the past. So I don't think this is a complicated thing to solve.
All right, thank you. Yeah, a good point there, though. But like you mentioned, a lot of things that maybe we weren't thinking about beforehand, definitely thinking about now. So, David, can you talk to us about what you are seeing from local businesses? How are they starting to get their feet wet again and open their doors?
Well, I think they're all, they have to follow some of the guidelines, so they have to restrict the number of people in their stores. They're obviously, it appears to me, they're spending a lot of time and effort trying to make sure that they're following the generally accepted social distancing guidelines. Like I said, some are wearing gloves, some are wearing masks. I went to Home Depot Saturday morning to pick up a couple of things, and there's a line out of the front of the store because they're counting the number of people coming and going and making sure they don't violate the guidelines. I think other stores, it's going to me the most interesting one is going to be when the restaurants kind of get back in the swing of things. Because they're limited in sometimes how they're configured. They've done a great job with the carry out and the takeout. And the home delivery of food, but now that they're going to want to see people back in the stores, back in their restaurants, and it'll be interesting to see how they deal with some of these restrictions that they're going to face.
Yeah, a lot of questions a lot of us have to answer, but it all depends on how we all feel safe. Do we feel comfortable going out to these restaurants, these businesses? Now, Alan, I do want to ask you, the Chamber has an initiative called Vision 2025, and the goal is to get Kansas to grow quicker. So as a part of that mission and that initiative, it says we need to remove the barriers to growth and seize the enormous opportunities before us to grow our economy, strengthen economic prospects, and secure the future for all Kansans. Has or will this pandemic slow down that goal at all for growing local businesses in this sense?
Yes, of course it has. And the question is, how do we respond to this as a state better than we did the 08, 09 recovery and recession when we were one of the last states to fully recover? And I think we have to take a hard look at policies and procedures and regulations. I think the governor's done a good job of addressing some of those. We need to do more, whether it's liability coverage, reducing some of the regulatory hurdles, capturing some of the advantages that we have. We're a manufacturing and ag state. Those things are to continue to be products and services needed by the entire world, financial services, particularly here in Topeka. So there could be, back to one of the earlier questions, there could be an opportunity here where there's some things that are happening because of this, of reshoring manufacturing, because of national security concerns, et cetera. But yes, that should be a concern of all of ours. We don't want to be in the bottom 10 on recovery out of this, and we essentially were in the 08, 09 recession. But yes, of course, the pandemic is going to harm economic growth. The national GDP growth is down at least 5% in the first quarter. The second quarter, we'll see. State data lags a little bit, so we have yet to see how the state has responded economically. But our economy is shrinking. The question is, how do we stop it shrinking and then get back to growth?
Yeah, a lot of big questions we got to find answers to, and hopefully we can find them sooner rather than later. Thank you both for joining us. We're going to move on to our next segment after this break. Now, our town hall discussion continues, like I mentioned, once we come back.
Yeah, and when we return, we'll look at the toll that stress from the virus is taking on us in the workplace. So stay with us. We'll be right back.